How's everybody doing today? I want to talk about a book that I just finished reading a few days ago, as a matter of fact, which is Colson Whitehead's The Underground Railroad. This book was published in 2016, as a matter of fact, and it is a historical fiction novel. It spans about 306 pages, give or take with the introduction, and I finished reading it in a relatively short amount of time because the book was so captivating to me. Now, I admittedly had watched the show on Hulu first. My wife introduced me to the show on Hulu, and I avoided it for a while because I didn't want to watch another quote unquote slave show, slave movie, right? I didn't want to watch another movie about slavery. And I was wrong, right? I watched the show and I was really drawn in and captivated by the show. And that led me to reading the book so I can finish the story because, of course, we know that the show right now has been discontinued. So I wanted to read the book. I had never read a book from Colson Whitehead before. And so I just wanted to kind of dive in. So immediately when I bought it, I just dove right into the book. And what's so amazing about this book is I saw in an interview, Colson Whitehead said that he wanted to take the Underground Railroad and make it a literal being. He wanted to make it a real thing with real conductors and real trains, real railroad stations as you follow an enslaved person as they try to achieve the ultimate goal, which is freedom. And in my mind, for some reason, when I had envisioned Harriet Tubman and these different, Sojourner Truth and these different enslaved people escaping to freedom, I hadn't thought about the middle passage as much as I should have. I didn't think about the actual time between enslavement and trying to get to freedom, right? For some reason in my mind, I kind of compartmentalized these two acts, and this book forces you to really dive in and really think about the different revolutionary thoughts and imagination that a person has to have to envision a life completely different than the one that they have been around their entire life. These people, our ancestors, when I say these people, our ancestors were born into slavery a lot of times, or they were forced into slavery to the point that this is all they knew because they're brought into a entire new world. And to just imagine that I'm going to leave this place and go achieve my freedom is such a revolutionary act. It is such a strong act that, I think that's something that we try to hold on to now from our ancestors. So you follow Cora as she goes from a plantation in Georgia as she tries to achieve her freedom. You go through for different states and different trials and tribulations that she has to face as she tries to achieve what is her God given right, which is to be free, right? So I don't want to give too much of the story, but it forces the reader to really understand the different mental constraints and different mental consequences and outcomes that can come from somebody being forced into slavery for their entire life. The different characters that you see her come across in the book, you see how chattel slavery can change somebody's thinking, how it can change somebody's actions. It forces people to try to survive. And when people are trying to survive, they can do that in any way, right? I think a lot of times when we study history, sometimes we try to put it in certain boxes. This person's a sellout. This person's a revolutionary. This person is this. And these are people. And even though it's a fiction story, Colson Whitehead writes so passionately and so direct that you can visually see each character and you can start to draw different conclusions on how these characters are just trying to survive a life, right? Again, I don't want to try to give too much of the book away, but the best conclusion or the best summary that I can give to somebody about this book is that after I read Colson Whitehead, The Underground Railroad, I went and watched numerous interviews from Colson Whitehead, and I bought every other book that I could find with his name written on the top of it. So any book that he wrote, I went out and bought, which is the highest kind of form of flattery that somebody can give to an author. So Colson Whitehead, The Underground Railroad is the book. I would suggest this book to anybody, any fan of really any genre, to be honest with you. I'm not the biggest fiction reader, but this book drew me in and it read so it's an easy read, but it's a deep read, right? I would stop reading and go tell somebody about what I'm reading, just dive into different conversations about the book because it's such an amazing story and such an amazing way to write about our history. I love this book. I don't really give ratings, but like I said, I went and bought every book that Colson Whitehead wrote after I read this book. So that's the highest kind of rating that I can give personally. So Colson Whitehead, The Underground Railroad. I appreciate you all checking me out today. This is an amazing book. I'd say it's a must have on anybody's shelf. Thank you.